Okay, so the lawsuit against NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and all of these big brokerages become a class action lawsuit back in April 2022. And then fast forward over a year, is now October 2023, and apparently jurors were deliberating for 2.5 hours and say that NAR and these big brokerages were in fact guilty. And they had to pay about $1.78 billion in damages, because of triple damages, this could easily get to $5 billion in damages. Now, back in 2023, after the verdict was passed, two major brokerages decided to settle. They weren't admitting guilt, but they decided to settle because, well, you know that going through court appeals and processes is very, very expensive. And so they felt it was in their best interest to settle, and these two major brokerages were Anywhere Realty, who settled for $83.5 million, and Remax for $55 million. Now we're moving into the beginning of February 2024, and Keller Williams announced their settlement for $70 million. Also recently, like a few days ago, Compass settled for $57.5 million. Now the last brokerage that has not settled yet is Berkshire Hathaway. Who knows what's going to happen, but here's the news that really turned things somewhat upside down for real estate world. And it came on March 15. It was very surprising to a lot of us because initially NAR, the association, was very strong when they said, we are going to appeal this and we are going to have enough information that is going to showcase that we are not guilty, and that the appeal process will take also a couple of years. Then March 15 happened, and the National Association of Realtors submitted a press release. And then it was kind of like all over the news the same day that they had settled, that they decided to settle the lawsuit by paying $418 million over 4 years, because otherwise they could have been having to pay $5 billion. And they're not admitting guilt, but they feel that for the best interest and also the best interest of their partners and agents to do so. I'm going to read this statement from NAR's press release because I think it is important. Two critical achievements of this resolution are the release of most NAR members and many industry stakeholders from liability in these matters, and the fact that cooperative compensation remains a choice for customers when buying or selling a home. Okay, so the settlement requires court approval, and it could take a few months, but it's more likely than not the court will likely approve it, right? But even if they have changes to the settlement, there are two major changes that are going to happen in terms of how buyers and sellers will be working in the real estate market. So these two major changes is what I want to talk to you about because it's coming faster than expected. The end of the beginning, someone say July 1st, 31st, whatever. So sometime in July. Number one, in the MLS, no broker compensation can be listed. Not the buyer's commission or any commission can be displayed in the MLS. But listen to this. It is important to know that this does not prevent compensation to a broker. In other words, if you are a seller, if you're working with a listing agent, it doesn't prevent you as a seller offering a buyer's agent commission. It just can't be displayed in the MLS. You know what you can do is, I understand that you can, offer that. And for instance, you can call that seller agent, hey dear, I saw your new listing pop up in the MLS. What is the buyer agent compensation? Also, this compensation can be also advertised in social media, email marketing. It can also be on your website. What is going to be allowed on the MLS is, for example, a seller offering a buyer concession. Buyer concessions could be money towards closing costs, or maybe paying for an inspection, or maybe paying for the HOA's fees for a year in order to help the buyer, and make that property more appealing to them. Number two, Starting in July, MLS members, so buyer's agents that are participating in the MLS, are required when working with a buyer to have a signed buyer agreement where the buyer and the buyer's agents agree to the terms of service and the value that the buyer agent is going to provide you. So as we're talking to your buyer's agents, you're going to understand the value that they bring you, and the agent will decide how to best fill that void if there's no buyer's agent compensation being offered by the seller. Prior to this change, I will say that the majority of buyer's agents here in Florida didn't work with the buyer broker agreement. I know in some states in the United States it's kind of common, but it wasn't so much here in Florida. Where it was more common actually as a buyer agent to work with the buyer through kind of an honest sympathy system where if the buyer and the buyer's agent got along really well, they will continue to work through the buying process. Well, now if you're looking to purchase a home, no matter where it is, Florida or anywhere in the United States, I mean, if this person is associated with the MLS, you must go under a buyer broker agreement before you can even see homes. So that's the big one. If you're somebody that is ready to buy a home right now, you might actually want to consider using a buyer's agent now before July, because it's going to start checking things over, But now let's talk about this agreement. I think this buyer broker agreement does two things, okay? It will force the agents to be much better actually at really communicating the value that they're bringing. But also for a buyer going under the agreement is more likely than not that the buyer values the service and is also ready to purchase a home. I mean, I'm gonna be very honest with you, and it happens a lot. There are some buyers out there that will use buyer agents almost like a tour guides, because in their minds, the buyer agent is free, quote unquote, right? Because they're not paying the buyer agent directly, and a lot of these people might never even purchase, the home with the buyer agent that they utilize. They use their time touring and they don't get paid. So if we are in this agreement now with the buyer and the buyer's agent, I believe that the ones that are willing to get into this agreement, they are going to be much more serious and committed to you. I was kind of thinking like this is like a la carte service, where yes, having the commission be paid out on the sale of the home is still an option, right? Of course, but perhaps a buyer that is early in the buying cycle, that is just really looking for general information, almost like consulting. So I think being able to provide different services for a buyer is a tremendous opportunity for our industry. On another note, I hear a lot of speculation about the prices and the home prices going down strictly because of the commission. Just because if the seller does not longer pay for the buyer's agent fees, the home prices will not go down. I will tell you something. Home prices are based on supply and demand. So if somebody crunches the numbers and they're determining the fair value of the house is based on that, and also looking at comps that were recently sold, normally within the 3 months, the property condition, and many other factors, it has absolutely nothing to do with the commission that was paid out to anybody, the listing agent or the buyer agent. Don't you agree? The easiest way to think this through is like if you pretend you are a seller, or maybe you are a seller right now, and maybe you're just paying 2% or 1%. Maybe you're employing the help of a discount real estate agent. If you're dealing with a buyer and the buyer is not giving you what you feel is fair value of the house, but maybe you are saving 2% or 3% on the commission, would you be willing to lower the price of your house just because you're not paying that? Probably not. I think you're going to want to get the most that you can out of the sale of your house. And I believe that anybody who thinks that home prices are going to come down strictly because of this. They don't understand supply and demand. I don't understand why people think that real estate commissions have not been negotiable. I mean, they have commissions, especially when you have the option of either selling your house yourself or going with these 2% discount agents, right? They're everywhere, they're out there, they've been out there for years. But having said all of that, I do believe that paying the commission paid out is probably going to go down. And I will explain you why. There's been just so much PR, so many things around this settlement that now people is going to want to test the market. I will tell you this through, and this goes back to the business fundamentals. It is more likely that you are going to get more buyers through if you're offering buyer's agent compensation, the new real estate world that you are now about to enter. So I think what's going to happen here is sellers are going to fill out the market, and if it is more of a buyer's market, it is very much likely the seller is going to offer buyer agent commission. Now, if homes are selling like hotcakes, like they did during COVID, especially 2021, beginning of 2022, it is less likely that a seller is going to be paying out buyer's agent fees because, well, buyers are coming to the property anyways. But here's something to think about. If you are a seller, even if this is a seller's market, if your competition is offering a buyer's compensation, right? That competition is getting even more buyers. Having more buyers means that you will probably have more of a multiple offer situation. And so what happens to the initial list price is going to change. This is what happened during COVID. A sudden, out of this blue, $700,000 home was selling for $800,000, even more, because of all these people that were putting their offer in highest and best. And so even during a seller's market, if you are offering a buyer's agent commission, yes, it is more likely that you are getting more of these multiple offers coming in. And so really got to look at the financials here, where yeah, you could be saving 3%, 2%, 1% on a buyer's agent commission, but how much extra would you actually be making on the sale of your house if you had offered that? I am anticipating those buyers who are already tied for money, they won't be able to pay for buyer's agents. You know, unfortunately, they won't have the out-of-pocket funds to pay for a buyer's agent's fee. Or maybe some of you who can actually pay for that are going to go directly to the listing agent and not even worrying about the buyer's agent or payment or compensation. In that case, there's not going to be a buyer broker agreement. But listen carefully. The listing agent is working for the seller. I mean, these two parties, you know, essentially put a listing price together. So if you go directly to the listing agent, do you believe that the listing agent will tell you that the price of a home is high? If it is, probably not. You're going to have to come to that conclusion that just one area that the buyer's agent is really good, right, is creating comp analysis for you. But also, if you're a buyer purchasing a home, especially an out-of-state buyer or an out-of-town buyer, the buyer agent, you know, and a good one, can really help you understand all the options that you might have. You know what? You might love property A, right? But buyer agent might know of property B. That perhaps makes a lot more sense with your lifestyle and might actually be better value for you. I don't know. Buyers and sellers, this is what I'm going to leave you with. And that is, don't underestimate the importance that an agent brings to you, the value that they bring, and allow them to explain this to you. And place a financial number on the value, because I can tell you that if you are paying 2% to an agent, you are going to get that and more back if you have a really good agent on both sides. Now, for us agents, this is really confusing right now, but I think those agents who are going to be very business minded, who are going to stay very plugged into how this all changes, they're going to be very successful. There's opportunities for all of us out there. So this is really exciting for agents in today's world, being a part of something that is different this year. So I really want to thank you for being here with me. Share your comments, let me know what you think, and I really appreciate your being here with me. I'll see you next week.